Here's the truth. You don't need motivation. You need a system, because if you're relying on motivation, you're already behind. And today is going to be a relatively quick fire episode on motivation, because it is by far, hands down, the most common question I get asked by clients, people who are potentially working with me, people who follow me, all that sort of thing. So this is for you. If you're someone who's like, what do I do when I have no motivation, when my motivation is at zero? This episode is for you. And I'm going to hit you a bit of truth. And I'm not usually a tough life kind of person, right? But I do really believe this is true. You don't wake up every day motivated to go to work. You don't wake up every day motivated to have a shower, to brush your teeth, to do your tax return, to book, to pay for that holiday. You don't be motivated by these things all the time. You get drives of it where you're like more motivated at work and less motivated, but you still do it anyway. And exercise and wellness and nutrition is much the same. But the difference is we haven't trained ourselves like we've trained ourselves to have to go to work. You don't actually, like, the reason you do go to work is because you know you're going to have no money otherwise. That is the motivating factor. That's just a fact in life. If you don't go to the gym, if you don't look after yourself nutritionally, you're going to fall into poor health. You're going to be overweight. You're going to not be comfortable in your skin. You're going to have so many health issues going on into your 40s, 50s, and 60s that you might not see certain events happen in your family's life that you want to live long enough and be able enough to do. So that needs to become a motivating and a driving factor. It won't work every single day, nor does money work every single day in work. But it has to be coming from a place that goes deeper than I just want to look better. It is, what does it prevent you from? Basically, one of the biggest things I always tell people is, what if you don't do something? Think about the suffering. Think about anything bad that can happen. As humans, we are designed to want to avoid bad things and bad outcomes. So if you can think about this, you're more likely to be motivated that bit quicker. But basically, my point is, you're not built to rely on motivation. That's not how we do things. You're built to do what you have to do. Because one thing is, people think, because I'm a coach, I'm magically motivated every single day. So either to do this business, to do this podcast, to go coach people, to go write programs, to do everything, or even to go do the gym myself. Frankly, no. The last 2 weeks in the gym, I've not really been asked. I kind of wanted to get in and out as quick as I can, and not really been fussed, but I still go anyway. And there's going to be a reason behind that. And this can apply to my food. This can apply to get my steps in. And I'm going to give you very simple tricks that I use to get around this motivation slump. And it all comes down to routine. And I know straight away there's someone being like, oh, I'm not a routine person. Mate, not half the people are. Mate, half the people in the world aren't motivational people. Mate, half the people in the world aren't routine people, but you have to make it work. Routine doesn't mean being rigid. That coach that told you need a routine and he says at 8 a.m. you do this, at 10 a.m. you do this, is bullshit. You don't need a rigid routine. You just need a penciled in idea of what you've got on this week. I know if I'm talking to any parents this week, you know roughly on a Wednesday at this time, the kids have got this. On Friday, they've got this club. On Monday, you've got to drop them off at this place. You know roughly when those events are happening. So then your next job is to be like, if the kids are there, I'm working. Where is there a space that I can maybe do something for myself? And it doesn't have to be hard penned in. It's just a little bit of idea thinking, right, I might be able to do something then. And you aim to do that. If you don't get to it, that is okay. You've made the plan to try and make that happen. But you also have other days penciled in so that if that one falls through, you then have a backup option and you have something to work towards again. The whole idea of winging it leaves this issue of decision fatigue. You're constantly making decisions. You're constantly wasting energy by making decisions and having to think, oh, how do I do this? Or where do I do that? You haven't thought it through. You spend 5 minutes, you'll gain easily an hour plus back in your week by just spending 5 minutes. And I know at the end of a hard day of parenting, work, chores, everything like that, the last thing you'll do is sit down and think, what do I have ahead for the week? But anyone who does this has an easier week because they waste less energy on something that really is boring and doesn't interest them. Still this tip, I used it when I worked in Scotland when I was working in the elite sports system. They told me to literally book in my gym sessions into my calendar like you do at work. So if you have a work calendar, maybe don't do it on your work system, but bring your work calendar into your own Google Calendar. Google Calendar is fantastic, by the way. It's brilliant, color coded, everything is awesome, right? I have picking up my son every week on there from Thursday to Sunday in there, right? I have when I plan to work on most of my days during there. And then I always stick in when I plan to go in the gym as if it were a meeting, because if I was to ever show anyone this, I'd be like, that is busy. That is time that is important to me. That is time that I have booked out so I can go and do something. It is a non-negotiable time. Yes, there will be things in your life like kids, like extra hours of work, like having to do other shopping trips because you're going on holiday, like anything like that. You might have to make it move that week. That's fine, but you've got it booked in, so it's more likely to be something you repeat in the future. So the be all end all here is you don't need a fancy planner. You don't need to go into Paper Chase, buy that expensive £40 leather bound thing with 20 little things because you're just buying something to waste more time there. You just need a simple plan written in an app, written on a piece of paper. I used to use one of those calendars on the wall that has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you just write the shit in that week. Do it on there so you can see it all the time. It reminds you that that's what you've got to do, but you've got to make it easy for your brain to know when you're planning on going and how you're going to do it. If you've done the thinking before you actually have to do it, there's less resistance. It's easiest to achieve. It's all about reducing every barrier that's there. I have no time. You have to find the time. Okay, not everyone has the same 24 hours, but we all have certain slots, whether it's 20 minutes, whether it's 40 minutes, whether it's once a week, twice a week, 4 weeks, 3 a week, whatever it is for you. There is something for everyone's schedule. And the only reason I know this is because I've planned for every different type of woman in my life. I've worked with neonatal nurses who work night shifts 3 weeks in a row, 4 days on at a time. Yes, horrendous. I've worked with managers who work 6 days a week easily from 7 a.m. till 4 p.m. Horrible. I've worked with women who do their standard 9 to 5 who have to work with their kids in the morning, sort their kids out in the evening, and then still find time to get to the gym. There are so many different scenarios of people I've worked with that nothing surprises me anymore. Let's say you've done all the planning now, though. What happens when you don't want to go to the gym or you don't want to track that day? So for not wanting to go to the gym, steal my 10-minute rule. It's really, really simple. On the days I don't want to go to the gym, there are plenty of them, by the way. Again, like I told you, just because I'm a coach doesn't mean I love training all the time. I enjoy it a lot, but not as much as everyone thinks. Use my 10-minute rule. Basically, you go and after 10 minutes, you give yourself full permission to leave if you don't want to be there anymore. The only thing you have to do is get there. That's non-negotiable. You go there, you spend 10 minutes warming up, and you try and make yourself feel as good as possible. You stick some tunes in that get you motivated, whatever playlist that is. I'm not judging you here, but your music is probably terrible. But still, if it makes you feel good, it makes you feel good. Spend a little bit extra time warming up rather than 1 to 2 minutes on the bike. Spend 5 minutes on the bike, just getting your heart rate up, get yourself moving, and then even doing a little bit of foam rolling, a little bit of mobility, just to make sure your body feels less stiff and less shit, especially if you're doing something early in the morning. No one wants to get up stupidly early in the morning all the time, do they? And after this 10 minutes, like I said, if you want to leave, you can leave. You give yourself permission. There is no guilt. It is an active choice. You tried your best. You did better for trying those 10 minutes rather than fucking off and being like, no, I don't want to do it today, because you actually attempted it. It's better to attempt and then make a decision rather than to go, oh, I just don't want to. 9 times out of 10, though, you probably won't leave that session because you're there. And then you can even make a decision, right, I'll just do 20 to 30 minutes of my session then. That's also fine. Then you might find you actually do the whole session. Whatever you did, whether it's the 10 minutes, whether it's 20 to 30 minutes of session, whether it's the full session, you stay in that gym. 9 times out of 10, you're more likely to do that. The 1 out of 10 times you leave, no judgment. And I tell my clients this all the time. If you don't do the session, that's absolutely fine. There is no judgment. The only judgment is the one you bring upon yourself. But I'm going to remind you of this. If you're the person who always says, I'm all in whenever I try and lose weight, I always go to the gym, I always do this, I always do that, you are the person I'm talking to right here, because you are the person that either does 3 sessions a week or does 0 sessions a week. You need to get better at doing 10 minutes when you don't feel like it. You need to get better at doing half your session when you don't feel like doing it, because you switch on and off like one of those lights. But I need you to be more like one of those lights you dial up and dial down, because life is not all or nothing. Life is not, I'm doing fitness, I'm not doing fitness. It's, I'm doing less at this moment in time because I'm fucking stressed and I've got so much on. So 1 session a week is all it's going to be. Or I'm just tracking 1 meal a day for this week because I'm extremely stressed and have a lot of pressure on me. That is better than doing a fuck all. I'd rather you do that than fuck all and then scale it up when you've got a little more free time. Example, when the kids go back to school after summer's over. Sounds more like it. So if you're that person, right now, that's who I'm talking to. And the last thing I'm going to say here, and it's such a true thought, I am someone who validates your feelings. I'm someone who understands and tries to care and tries to listen to you before I try to coach you. But there is one reality at the end of the day that is true through life, through gym, through exercise, through fitness, whatever you want to call it, right? Your facts are not feelings. I just bollocks that statement up. Your feelings are not facts. If we only ever did things we felt like doing, we would never fucking do anything as humans, because half the time we don't feel like doing the things we need to do. That's just humans. We're built to be lazy. We're built to find the easiest path to something. So you have to make yourself do stuff that you don't want to do a lot of the time. Again, that includes getting up and going to the gym. That includes eating that breakfast that takes an extra 5 minutes to make maybe, or spending 10 minutes making breakfast for the week. I remember every week I have a breakfast that takes less than 10 minutes to make, right? But it saves me 5 days on making breakfast a week. I hate it every single week. But every time I wake up in that morning, I'm so grateful I've fucking done it. So just remember this: motivation doesn't just come around. It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just exist. Okay. It has a life cycle of around 3 to 5 weeks. Every 3 to 5 weeks, you'll be high on motivation and then eventually it'll crash off after 3 to 5 weeks. The reason being is because motivation is fueled by results, and typically results in weight loss and fat loss and stuff like that happen every 3 to 5 weeks. You'll be losing weight, you'll plateau out a wee bit, and then because you've plateaued out a wee bit, you're not getting that little dopamine hit of you losing weight anymore, so your motivation drops a little bit more, and then you're still struggling. And then because it stays the same again, you're still struggling. So now your motivation drops. And then if you're the all or nothing person and you give up because the scales have stopped moving, you know what you've done? You've condemned yourself to that exact thing you were losing motivation over. The scale's not moving. The scales stop moving because you fucking give up. Then they actually start moving, but in the wrong direction now. You need to be comfortable sticking in it. Stick in that. Change the focus. That action of watching the scales drop is not the one that's working for you right now. The action you need to focus on is something different. Rather than being perfect, right? You don't need 10 to 12K. You don't need 10 to 12K steps every single day. Why not have a minimum target of 6 to 8K, and then anything above that's a bonus? It's easy to achieve in those higher stress periods. Work on that. Same with your food. You might not want to track at the moment because you're super stressed about going on this holiday. You've got overtime coming out your fucking ears. All right, why not do a food diary using your photo on your phone? Just take a photo of every meal you take, send it to your coach, and they can review your food just like that. You don't have to type anything into a fucking app. It's really simple. You just put your hand in the photo. Your coach, like me, can come and look at your food and be like, right, change that, chop that, reduce that, increase that, boom, 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 boom. You see where I'm going? You can see I'm getting energized on this because my brain is going faster and faster, and so is my fucking mouth. My point is, simplify the success rate. Build that action. Again, action, results, motivation. That is the sequence. Okay. People think it goes motivation to take action. No, it's action. Take action first, get a small result, get your motivation. Okay. Track 1 meal a day if that's all you can do. See that you've done it for a week. Oh, I feel a little bit better because I've actually managed to do something. Motivation increases. It's been a busy week, but I've managed to get 6K steps in every single day. Result, I've managed to stick to my step goal even when I would normally quit. Motivation increases. I only did 30-minute gym sessions this week because I was too tired. Action, done. Result is that you managed to still go to the gym during a hard week of low energy. Result, motivation, boom, increase. That's how this works. So again, you've got my 10-minute rule. You've got to challenge your feelings. I know your feelings are genuine, but you've still got to push past them because we don't always want to do what we need to do. And again, take action, get a small result, build your motivation. This is probably the kick up your ass you need right now, because I know we are end of July, going into August. Most people are on holiday, come back from holiday, and their motivation is fucking miles off the wagon, and they're waiting until September till the kids go back to school. And I'm telling you, that's the worst thing you can do right now. Do something small, whatever it is. And if you're still struggling and you haven't seen what I've been building recently, I've been building my 4-week strong and simple program. That is a simple 4-week program in the gym, custom delivered to you, directly delivered to you using my app. You'll get full access to my app where you get 3 sessions a week, fully programmed, fully video walkthrough, so you know every single one what it's doing. Each exercise has a video so you understand what it looks like. It has instructions so you know what to do on each exercise. You have bits where you can kind of add in your comments afterwards. You can track what you're doing. I then give you a full YouTube playlist of commonly answered questions where I spend 2 to 10 minutes answering common questions and demoing things in gyms that you might be struggling with. Like, how do I train when I have no motivation? How do I know I'm lifting heavy enough? What if I'm injured? What if I'm sore? All of these questions answered in these videos so that you have access to these answers so that you feel supported and cared for. Because the whole idea of this is basically you are trying to get an insight into how I coach people without me actually directly coaching you. Because I know price is a huge issue for people. It's like, I don't want to waste money on something else that doesn't work, which is why this is only going to be £25. 25, that's literally it. £25 for a 4-week, full 3-day-a-week program. You don't have to do all 3 days a week. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 3. You have lifetime access to this program. Lifetime access. And then on top of that, you're going to get my protein guide. You're going to get my everything you need to lose weight the right way guide. All these sorts of things to set you up for success in the future. But again, it breaks down that barrier to entry and builds that trust that you know that you're getting a program from someone who actually gives a shit about you and shows you how you can actually make changes right now. So if you're low in motivation and you want to try this out, just drop me a comment on Apple, Spotify, Instagram, anything you want. Just drop me a message with the word "for." And I'll send you the information on this program when it releases. It's nearly finished. I've just got to finish off editing the final videos, get them uploaded to YouTube so you can see these videos. But look, Hopefully you enjoyed this short, sharp episode. Hopefully you take interest in that 4-week program because, again, the aim is to help people who are just feeling a little bit lost at the moment, a little bit stressed, a little bit out of the loop, and they just need something to get back in goal without it being too costly, without worrying about having to fork out loads of money, without worrying having to commit too much time, but make action happen now so you can get that result, build that motivation. Guys, I hope you've had a really good day. I'll speak to you soon. I'm actually off to record another episode now for next week, hopefully.